We're not in therapy. I know that he's not a big fan of it. He has this fear that if you go to therapy, it's because there's something really wrong with you.
Ooh, this is so common, especially in men, because it's kind of some toxic masculinity and patriarchal conditioning. Hi, I'm Dr. Hanran, and today we're going to be reacting to Will These Couples Stay Together by the Cut? Let's dive in.
My name is Ashley, and I'm here with my girlfriend Jensen.
I'm Kara Carroll, and I'm here to talk about therapy.
I brought my husband with me.
Came here with my partner, Robin.
My name's Robin, and I'm here because my girlfriend made me come here.
Ooh, he's here because his girlfriend made him. This is so common, especially for couples therapy. There's generally one partner who might be the instigator, more invested than the other. And I think it's generally okay as long as once they get through the door and they start communicating and they get more emotionally connected and aligned, they tend to both see the benefit of it and get on the same page. And if they don't, well, then that is also data for some other directions that the therapy might need to go in.
How long y'all been together?
Oh, we've been together for over 10 years, really.
2 years now. Today's actually our anniversary.
Does he know that?
He better know that.
She brought it up a few times.
Any big plans?
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
Not yet, but I'm working on it. Dude, today's your anniversary. You're working on it today? Oh, honey, you should have done it a few days ago. You better go big. Don't just get her like grocery store flowers, please.
Are you all in therapy?
When it comes to therapy, we up in that shit.
Seeing where there was a little bit of a difficulty with us communicating our needs, we decided to go to therapy.
It was really a sustainability thing. We saw some cracks in our relationship.
They saw some cracks in their relationship, so that's what got them into therapy. That's actually pretty common for couples therapy especially, but I would say you don't need to wait until there's cracks in the relationship. It's really valuable to go to couples counseling before you start seeing problems so you can be proactive and aligned and have this mutual space to talk about your relationship and connect with each other as just a relationship maintenance element.
We did premarital counseling together.
Mostly because our sort of like styles of disagreement is very kind of non-confrontational.
So they went to premarital counseling. That's really common. It can have a religious component where you're talking to a pastor or a rabbi or imam, and the clergy member helps orient the couple to the traditions of marriage underneath that religious expectation or convention. But there's also secular premarital counseling, and it's a good idea to get aligned on major topics that you might run into in a marriage, such as finances, division of labor, childcare, lifestyle. And this couple also said that they have a similar non-confrontational style when it comes to conflict management. That is a great idea to get into couples counseling if you know that you're both avoidant.
We actually started going to couples therapy before we started dating.
We were confused about what our relationship was because we had been really close friends.
Oh my gosh, they went to therapy before they even started dating? This is not typical. I imagine this would happen more in queer couples because you're already relating in a way that's unconventional and outside of the box, so tend to be a little bit more mindful about how you engage. But it's not a bad idea, especially if you're translating a friendship into a romantic context, to get some support around that.
Went to the same conservative Christian college, both raised religious as well. We needed help coming out and figuring out if we were even gay.
Oh, this is so sweet. This couple went to counseling together so they can unlearn their religious upbringing and relearn how to orient to each other and be in relationship with each other. I think that's so sweet.
We're not in therapy. I know that he's not a big fan of it. He has this fear that if you go to therapy, it's because there's something really wrong with you.
I'm the one that's on the side of like not really wanting to go. I think I would initially be a little ashamed, a little embarrassed that I have to ask for help with my relationship.
Ooh, this is so common. This guy has this shame of going and feeling like, if I have to ask for help with my relationship, what does that say about me? This is super common, especially in men, because it's kind of some toxic masculinity and patriarchal conditioning. But there doesn't mean anything is wrong with the relationship to get some extra support. It can be really valuable to get an outside perspective.
Where I feel like I should be able to tackle that on my own.
Wait a minute, this is the same guy at the beginning who said, my girlfriend made me go. So that kind of tracks. He's just kind of overall reluctant and seems to have multiple excuses. And he didn't know that it was their 2-year anniversary that day and hadn't planned anything. Well, those might be some signs of other issues.
What do you think is your biggest disagreement as a couple?
I think we fight the most about like individuality.
Division of labor. I do more of the household stuff.
What if I told you that you all did not agree?
No. Really?
What doesn't she do that just pisses you off?
Dirty dishes.
Something about you never doing the dishes.
No, that's not true.
It's tough to say. I feel like we've got like the normal stuff, like who's gonna do the dishes.
Oh my gosh, dishes. Dishes is such a common argument. Just division of household tasks and domestic labor. That's something that can really fall into traditional gender norms, even when couples say that they are egalitarian. Often there's so much traditional gender conditioning that we are unlearning in relationship with each other, and it takes some intentional thought and effort to match our actions with our stated values.
We fight a lot, I would say, about my insecurities and his lying.
What's your partner's biggest issue?
Being flexible is something that she could work on.
His guilty conscience. I'm like, what are you even feeling guilty for? First of all, you didn't do anything.
It's so interesting that these couples are disagreeing on what their biggest conflict is. They have different ideas of why they would even seek counseling to begin with. And I think that says so much about what you could possibly gain from relationship counseling. If you are not even aligned on what your problems are, what else are you not aligned on? And what else can you become more eye to eye on in going to counseling together?
Before therapy, what was your take on getting help with your relationship?
We were really reliant on each other, and that did weigh heavily on the both of us because we just didn't have all the answers.
I wasn't much of a talker, so I was like, how am I supposed to learn stuff about myself if I'm not talking?
Before therapy, I would get most of my advice from friends and family. After therapy, child, I'm taking my problems to a professional. Like, your mama don't know what she's talking about. Your friends are only telling you advice based off of their own experience.
That's exactly right. People say, I don't need to go to a therapist. I have my mom, I have my best friend, I have my partner. What can a therapist tell me that I can't get from somebody else in my life? I hear this a lot. People say, why would I go to a therapist when I can talk to my best friend, my mom, my partner? But the thing is, these are people who are in your life and invested in your life. That means they are invested in a specific outcome and for you to behave in a certain way that will impact them. But when you go to a therapist, that's a third party who really has no stakes in your choices. So they are invested in making sure that you are living to your values and are aligned with yourself. So that is the benefit of going to a therapist. It is a more objective perspective. I wouldn't say completely objective because I don't think any human can be completely objective, but it is more objective than your mom or your best friend.
One of you more or less committed to therapy?
No, I think we're both really into it.
I think I am more committed.
Kara, for sure.
Probably me, because I've been to it a lot.
Who's more committed to going to therapy?
Selena.
Like, I'm a therapy girly at this point. I've been to bereavement therapy before, so I know that therapy can help you through a tough time.
That's true. Therapy can be so beneficial across multiple issues or domains of life. You don't need to just go to therapy for one thing. You can go for lots of different things. And you don't actually have to stay in therapy the whole time. Maybe you go for a bit and you do a piece of work and then you take a break because things are going fine. But life will happen, and it's really nice to know that there's someone there who can know what's going on in your life and who already knows you and how you operate to be able to help you pick up the pieces when life does happen.
What's gonna make you decide to go?
I don't want to make him feel like he's forced to go to therapy?
I guess I've talked to a bunch of guys that I trust who are for it, and just your job as a man is to be better than the man that raised you. I owe it to myself to be a little bit better, step out of my comfort zone, do things that I don't necessarily agree with if I think they're gonna improve me as like a person, I guess.
Ooh, this is so powerful. This guy talked to his buddies and they said, you should go to therapy because it's benefited them. This really speaks to the power of men, especially normalizing and destigmatizing therapy. So if you're a dude who goes to therapy and benefits from it, shout it from the rooftops, post about it online, talk to your friends, because you never know the ripple effect of how other people will see the fact that you go to therapy, how that normalizes them going to therapy as well. It's so important to talk about just in social situations so we can get more normalization and destigmatization for going to therapy.
We've gotten to the point where he's giving me his insurance so I can look into people.
Okay, why is she looking into a therapist for him with his insurance? Why isn't he doing that labor himself?
Is there anything you just hate about therapy?
Yes.
I hate that we can't be friends with our therapist.
Oh my gosh, I do have clients that I would totally be friends with if they weren't my clients. This is an ethics issue. It's called a dual relationship. So you can't date your therapist, you can't be friends with your therapist. It's because you don't want to muddy the waters. You want them to stay objective about your life. But there's a lot of my clients who not only would I want to be friends with them, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could hook them up with one of my other clients so they can be friends or they can date or whatever. And that's also not ethical, but we think about it sometimes.
When I have to say something that I have not wanted to talk about, but I know I have to in order to move forward.
What do you think your partner dislikes about therapy?
Talking about himself.
I hate talking. I've realized that there's a lot of reflection and that it's okay to be silent.
What did you learn in couples therapy?
How to fight against a problem rather than seeing your partner as the problem.
Ooh, this is so huge. How to fight against the problem. This is a big issue in relationships. When you are in conflict and you're all activated and emotional, you stop seeing your partner as being on the same team as you. But when you are in a relationship with someone, you guys are on the same team. The problem is something you can unite against together. And sometimes going to therapy helps you see ways to align with your partner even when you're emotionally activated and even when it feels like your partner is the enemy.
I learned that you can have hard conversations in a way that is constructive and actually leads you to a resolution.
Yes, conflict is generative. Our society paints conflict as something to avoid at all costs, but truly, conflict brings people together. It builds intimacy, it creates vulnerability. Conflict is such a rich and powerful cohesion building tool for any type of relationship.
My biggest takeaway is that the problem is our conflict cycles and our patterns. To have that perspective that we can work on those as a team, I think has been really motivating.
What's your roadblock into getting into therapy?
I gotta find the place, I gotta start going consistently, and then on top of all of it, I gotta hope that I got somebody that actually makes sense to both of us.
It's kind of like dating.
Finding a therapist is kind of like dating. It's kind of like finding a job and interviewing. You have to go try different people out, feel their vibes, see if you match, trust your gut. It can be kind of a lot of work to make sure you get a good therapist, but just like dating, you go through some that doesn't work out, and then once you get into that dynamic that works for you, it's so powerful.
There is no other roadblock than the cost of therapy.
Yes, let's talk about cost of therapy. That's absolutely an issue. Accessibility in that way is a huge problem, especially because health insurance does not reimburse therapists at a fair rate. And so because of that, a lot of therapists don't take insurance. But you can check to see what your out-of-network benefits are with your insurance, and oftentimes they reimburse a lot. And there's also companies that will do some of that filing legwork for you. So don't just say, oh my gosh, it's so expensive, I'm not gonna do it. There are ways to help reduce the cost. But yes, we as therapists absolutely acknowledge that that is a huge accessibility factor.
It literally took me about 3-4 years to find a therapist that I could afford or a way to pay for therapy.
One of the therapists that I saw was $250 per session. Oh my goodness, that is a lot.
Yes, therapy can be really expensive, but you also don't need to be in therapy forever. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in your relationship, so you can go and do a really targeted piece of work and set aside a budget for that, and then have a lot of happier times with your partner, and then you have somebody that you can call when your relationship has issues again, because inevitably it will, and that's okay. That is normal and part of being in relationship and just part of life. Okay, so that was the cuts. Will these couples stay together? It's so important to destigmatize relationship counseling, couples therapy, and also to remember you don't need to have something go super wrong before you start seeking help. The issue with going to therapy when you're in a crisis point is that your goal is to go back to baseline. So you never have an opportunity to actually raise the baseline. But when you are going, when there's some tension, some conflict, but things aren't in crisis, then you have an opportunity to actually raise the baseline. Our nervous systems are a lot more primed to receive information and be amenable to change when we are not in crisis. So I highly recommend people go and seek some support before they are in that crisis point, whether it's individually or for your relationship. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Han Ran. For more videos from Healthline Mental Health, please like and subscribe. See you next time.